Okay, underway. Silence behind me, thank you. Hello, welcome to Legacy Solutions Cyprus. This is the first in an ongoing series about dealing with probate in Cyprus. Today we'll be talking about the most common mistakes made when writing a will in Cyprus and also looking at some solutions. One of the first things we have to do when writing a will is have that will witnessed. That requires someone you know, two people ideally, to sign each page of the document and confirm that they've seen you sign the will itself. What sort of problems can we face with those? The first question can be, will the witnesses outlive you or will they leave the island? The reason both these questions are relevant is that it is possible they may be required to appear at the probate registrar in order to confirm that you had in fact signed the will. If they're not available, it can cause difficulties for both you and the executor. The answer is to have the will signed and certified by a certifying officer. This would mean you and the witnesses going along to a mukhtar or one of the many certifying officers dotted around the island, signing in their presence, and that means at a later date they will not be required to attend the probate registrar. The other option is to do the same thing, but lodge it at the probate registrar at the time. A significant role in any will is the executor, and the question we must ask is, should it be a lawyer or should it be a family or a friend? Both can have difficulties. If a lawyer is executor, they have complete control over how assets are dealt with. You must therefore feel completely comfortable with your lawyer and trust them implicitly. We've all heard many stories about lawyers exploiting that position, overcharging, or taking far too long to deal with the matter at hand. If the executor is a family member, they still need to be able to live in Cyprus to do an effective job. Otherwise, they will need to give a power of attorney to a lawyer, and that makes it difficult again. Asking an executor attempting to, let's start that again. If the executor is a friend or family, they need to live in Cyprus to do an effective job. In my experience, non-resident executors tend to appoint a lawyer, and any desire to change that later can be both slow and expensive, so to be avoided. Is this a difficult role? Quite certainly. Yes, it is. Everything must be completed in Greek, including a translation of the will, and the executor is required to register with Ariadne, which is a online system, and then log into iJustice, which is the probate services online support. Therefore, makes some sense to use someone familiar with the system, and that usually means a lawyer. Of course, if the executor is a family member, they can go through a selection process to pick the lawyer they trust best. Another common question is, should your will cover assets in Cyprus only or everything you own in the world? Generally, a separate will is best in each jurisdiction. If a Cyprus will is used for worldwide assets, then it has to go through grant of probate before it can be resealed for another jurisdiction, which adds to the cost and delay of processing the assets outside of Cyprus. Grant of probate can take 8 to 12 weeks in Cyprus. Additionally, of course, all worldwide assets may need to be listed in the actual probate application, and following that, separately accounted for in the final analysis. This adds a level of complication that is not useful. An option many people go for is to choose to have English, Scottish, it could be Irish or German law apply rather than Cyprus. This is possible. You're allowed to do that under European legislation. You can choose either the law of Cyprus or your own national law. Of course, if you're English, it's English law. If you're Scottish, it is not English law. Please be aware of that. That will avoid Cyprus for forced heirship rules, just in case they are not satisfactory. The drawbacks to doing that, the most significant drawback for a UK domiciled person or someone from the UK, is that this could be considered an indication of that you still consider yourself to be UK domiciled. That would mean that your worldwide estate could be subject to UK inheritance tax, and as many of you will know, that can be up to 40% of the estate's value. So if you feel IHT is a problem, you want to avoid using anything other than Cypriot law. Also, while not applicable at the moment, if you have English law as to apply, it is possible that a Cyprus lawyer does not feel confident in using a different jurisdiction's legal system and may therefore consult with a UK lawyer or an English lawyer. This will add to cost and delay. Briefly, the forced heirship rules in Cyprus are that assets are divided between spouse and children on death, regardless of the wishes expressed in a will. So if you intended for your assets to be divided between spouse and children, there's no reason to not use Cypriot law. Of course, again, if there is no spouse or children, then the instruction in the will can be followed. The exception is no will at all. If you die intestate, then they will consider grandparents, parents, nieces and nephews, uncles and aunts for the distribution of the estate. We do have a separate presentation that goes into this in a bit more detail. Remember that a will is a safety net. You want to have one in place, but it can be full of holes. Those holes will include costs, delays, heartache, in fact, pain at a time when it's the last thing your estate wants to face. You hope never to use one, but you need to have one in place just in case there are surprises. A will, of course, can also be challenged as it is a public process. Ideally, you arrange your affairs so that the will is not needed, and there are a number of ways of doing that. You can use gifting, joint ownership, trusts, beneficiary nomination, etc. This includes property, which although it's not possible to hold Cyprus property in joint ownership, it can sometimes make sense to move ownership to one or the other party. If you deal with your affairs now, then you don't leave it for someone else to sort out, then probate can be eliminated. For more information, or if you have questions, please don't hesitate to contact us. Our website address is legacysolutionscyprus.com. If you register with us, you'll have access to a full suite of presentations and blogs, and the ability we'll invite you along to seminars in the future as well. Hope to hear from you soon.